Hello, good evening. It's Monday. My name is Richard. This is Over and Over and Over Again, and this is the Arsenal review. I suppose you could call this a bit of a mixed week, maybe a defeat against Man City, which looked really, really crucial at the time. But then the weekend results kind of turned things around, didn't they? We got that very, very dramatic late victory at Villa Park while Man City were held at Nottingham Forest, and suddenly things have swung back in our favour. So it's been a mixed week. We've got a big game coming up the weekend as well, a difficult game away at Leicester. That's going to be tricky, so we'll look at that. Plus, other bits and pieces that's gone on in the latest week of Arsenal. It's all coming up the other side of this.
Real Martinelli. It's now with Granit Xhaka. Is it going to be the third goal? It is the third goal. Granit Xhaka with it. That seals it.
And joining us tonight, it's of course a regular on the show. It's Neil. How you doing, my friend? Are you okay?
I'm better now after our little blip. Much better now. So all good. Rich, how you doing? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad at all. I'll say, obviously, like you said, things weren't looking too grand, were they, before Saturday? And even halfway through Saturday, it wasn't looking too good, was it? But things went in our favour in the end, and we've got I think we've said it before, haven't we? The most important thing is to enjoy these moments while they're here, because we don't know how long it's going to last. Let's be honest. Football is so unpredictable, especially in this current climate, the way things are. And the fact that we're winning games, we're top of the league, we're more than halfway through the season. I mean, we've got to try and enjoy this as much as we can. Yeah, there's going to be bumps along the way. I think we knew that. And the main thing is to bounce back as soon as possible. And we will talk about that a bit later. We managed to do that finally in the end on Saturday. So I think the place we need to start is rewinding sort of 5-6 days to last midweek, the first against second in the table, what was billed as a title decider, although as we mentioned last week on the show, nothing was going to be decided one way or the other. But it was a big game. It was a good game of football. But unfortunately for us, it didn't quite go the way that we hoped. I mean, for me, it was a bit of a mixed performance from Arsenal, actually. We played pretty well in the first half, deservedly were level at half-time. And then in the second half, I thought Man City got on top. We made some silly mistakes that we kept making, trying to play it out from the back. We played into their hands a little bit. And in the end, I think in the second half, the better team in the second half won that game. Whether they were the better team for 90 minutes is debatable. And it almost showed me at the time that when it comes down to the crunch, we've still got a little bit to learn. And we're very inexperienced as a squad. And maybe we haven't got the depth in the squad either. And we're not quite there yet, are we? That's what that game showed me, that as much as, we're having a great season, we're enjoying it, and we're in a great position. But when it comes down to it, we're still a little bit off where we all want us to be still. And that's not to say we can't get there. Is that what you felt about that game? Because we played well at times in the game. We had some good spells. We played some good football. We caused them some problems. But ultimately, when it mattered in that second half of the game, in the last 15, 20 minutes, that's when games are won and lost against the big teams. And Man City had that extra know-how, experience and quality maybe to win the game, didn't they?
Yeah, I was, I think for me, I was kind of going into this game a little bit, how can I say, negative because of the bad decision we got against Brentford. Yeah, I think we lost fair and square to Everton. But the Brentford game, I just felt utterly, I know we didn't play to our strengths that we had been seeing, of which, the previous first half of the season. And some might say, well, probably a draw against Brentford was the best result. But at the end of the day, that the fact that they came out and admitted that was a mistake, I normally can get over it, Rich. That was the first couple of days of any loss or drop points where you think you shouldn't have done. It's hard, but then you kind of just look forward to the next game and just hope that you can respond. But I just couldn't shake it. It's the first time I've ever felt like this, maybe because we've been doing so well. And I'm thinking, are we capitulating everything we've worked for 19 games? All of a sudden, in the space of a few days, we're just going to lose, completely be derailed. And then all of a sudden, we could probably face the worst team next to try and get ourselves back again. is arguably one of the best teams in the world. So it's like, oh, so I was kind of went into it kind of half-hearted, and because of that, actually, it was the first time, Rich, I didn't have any nerves at all in the game. It was almost like I was numb to it. I don't know why, but I just was, and I'm just explaining how I was feeling. I just was watching it. They scored, and I'm like, yeah, all right. And then we scored, and I was kind of a little bit of celebration, but it wasn't over, like I normally go, mental. But yeah, I mean, I thought for the first half, I mean, it's difficult to remember much of the game now because of the euphoria of the one that's come after. That's really fresh in my mind. So admittedly, I wasn't sure. I didn't know you were going to talk about this game, so I'm going to be a bit vague on it. But I do remember the first half. I think, to be honest, we probably had the better chances. It's about, and you know what? When you play a team like Man City, it's about taking those advantages. They're going to be far and few between. They're going to be fleeting, and you need to capitulate. And not capitulate. You need to capitalize on those and not capitulate. And I feel, I'm really sorry to say this. I think, and I don't like singling out players, but I think Eddie has been great. I mean, it could have been a lot worse losing Jesus. To be honest, we're still top as it transpires. We're still top, 2 points clear with the game in hand. So we haven't done bad after losing Jesus. But I just feel that he had a little bit of a good spell, and he was banging in some goals here and then. And his hold-up play has improved from what we've seen in previous seasons. His movement's a bit better, but I still think he's a striker, and he's a finisher, and he's a poacher, and you've got to be putting the ball in the net. That is your job. And he just seems to have, he's not doing it. He's had maybe 5, 6, 7 chances in the last few games. He could have got at least 1 or 2 of those. And I think that's where titles are won by scoring goals, Rich. Yeah. We're not going to win a title by drawing. So we need a goal scorer. And I'm really sorry to say at the moment, and again, I don't like talking about players in this way, but I'm actually looking forward to Jesus to come back. And I'm not saying Jesus was scoring goals,
to be fair.
but he wasn't scoring goals, but at least he was offering something a lot more, around that area and helping maybe others convert, like the Sakas of this world and the Odegaards of this world and whoever else it might have been, but in Martinelli. But I just feel that Eddie's, he's dried up a little bit on that area, whether it's a confidence thing. And it'll be interesting to see now what he does going into the next game. I still think he'll stick with him, but who knows? But yeah, I think we gave a fair share in the first half. Then second half, I mean, I suppose their experience, their superiority. I can't say that word. Superiority. I can't even say it. That's the one. That's the one. I've not been drinking, I promise. I'm drinking water. So it kind of it showed their class, I suppose. And yes, while we're not the finished article by a long stretch, I think we've made a massive improvement, though, Rich. Before, if you think about the FA Cup game as well, a few games before and this one, if this had been us, 2-3 seasons ago, maybe as early as last season, Man City could have bulldozed us. But I think we held our own for quite a while. And we kind of exchanged punches quite well as well. So I think in that respect, there's a pretty progress has been made. But we're still not quite there yet. And I don't know whether that's to do with a little bit of experience, a little bit of nervousness, because I don't think this is complacency. You can't say this game is complacency. I think maybe it was nerves. No. Or it could have even been the fact that we were under pressure because we'd come back off the top, from 1 point from 6. And this, this was another game we needed to get something out of. And maybe the pressure just got to us in the end. But yeah, I hope we can do better when we play them at the Etihad, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I do agree with pretty much most of what you said there. The only thing I would say is when we played Manchester City at the Emirates last season, we played better against them last season than we did this last week, I thought. We lost that game last season 2-1 due to, as we know, some rather strange refereeing decisions in the second half. And that first half performance that we put in last season was fantastic. And we never reached those heights against them this time. I thought we played well in the first half. And we, like you said, we had the better chances. And I totally agree with you about Eddie Nketiah. If we had previously under Mikel Arteta, we had a striker who had a bit of a personality, maybe had a few issues off the pitch that wasn't quite the right character for what we needed. But on the pitch, even when he wasn't really playing well, he was still scoring goals. He got 15 goals in that poor season that he had. When we sold him, he had 7 goals in that season before Christmas. And Eddie Nketiah, if this was Aubameyang, there would be criticism, stick, and everything for the performances he's putting in, the chances he's missing, right? And because it's Eddie Nketiah, because he's come through our academy, because everybody loves him, and that's fair enough, he's not getting the same criticism that other players would be getting for putting in the same performance levels as what he's doing, missing those big chances, which you can't afford to keep doing. Yes, everyone's going to miss a chance here and there. You know, Haaland misses a few chances. We saw he missed a big one against Nottingham Forest, didn't he? The best players in the world miss chances, and we're not going to criticise Eddie for missing one chance or two chances. But as you said, in the last few games, he's had 6, 7, 8, and they're not just half chances. Those headed opportunities that he had, very, very poor. Against Aston Villa, he had 2 big chances. He has to put at least one of them away. He should have scored 4 or 5 goals in the last few games with the chances he's had. He hasn't scored any. And I think that just proves he isn't at the level. I mean, I've said this before. When we were challenging to try to get in the top 4, we're a top 6 team at the time, trying to battle to get in the top 4. Eddie's probably okay as your backup striker in those circumstances. He can come in, score a few goals, do a job. When you're trying to challenge for league titles, when you're trying to play in, or be playing in the Champions League next season, hopefully, he's not good enough for that level. The level that we are now at has overtaken the standard that he can produce. And I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's a good player, but he's not good enough for what we need for where we're going. And unfortunately, when the team progresses, a club progresses, some players get left behind. And Eddie, unfortunately, is going to be one of those players. He's not 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. He's 24 or so, 23, 24, isn't he? He's had a lot of experience. He's been in and around our first team squad for quite a long time. He's played a lot of games. And if he was going to be able to reach that level, he would be reaching that level. He would have shown it already, wouldn't he? And he's not. And he's never going to now, I don't believe. And I think that, you know, offering him that contract last summer was a big mistake in terms of the money we've been paying him this season. Yes, it might mean we can get a bigger transfer fee for him if we do decide to let him go. But what we've paid out in the meantime over this season, as it worked out to be a good decision by the club, I don't believe it has been. That money should have been invested in a proper striker who could take us to that level. You know, Jesus is fantastic, but he's not enough on his own. And he's not been playing, and you can see the difference. And yes, we may well have got the same results with Jesus in the team. I'm not saying we would have necessarily won all those games with Jesus playing. We may have got the same results, but that's not really the issue, is it? The issue is looking at Eddie as a player, looking at what we need, where we are, where we want to go. He's not quite good enough. And I feel a little bit sorry for him because you can see, I've noticed certainly in the Aston Villa game more so, you can see his confidence has gone. You can see it. His head's down and he's missing a few chances that he knows maybe 6 weeks ago he may well have scored, you know, because he was sticking the ball in the net a bit more regularly then, wasn't he? And for whatever reason, but, you know, maybe he'll get a goal maybe this weekend and that will set him off on a run again. I don't know. But I've seen enough of Eddie to know that if, and I said this at the start of the season, if we have to rely on him to play 10, 15 games, he's not good enough for that. He's all right to come in the odd game here and there, 3 or 4 games. Yeah, fine, brilliant. He'll come in and do a job, maybe get a goal or 2, fantastic. But long term, he isn't good enough for where we want to go, unfortunately. And that's an issue that we've got. And it's an issue that unless we solve in the summer, we could have done a bit more maybe in the last transfer window to address that, but we didn't. If we don't do something about it in the summer, then it's going to be a problem again next season. We can't just have Jesus as our only real top quality striker. We can't. It's not enough. If we want to, you know, the Champions League next season, absolutely no chance. Is that enough?
We need to address it. I mean, I don't know whether they're going to consider recalling Balogun because he's doing well.
Even is he?
It's a different league. I know it's a different league. Completely.
We don't know whether. I mean, if you stuck Eddie Nketiah in that French team that he's playing for, Eddie Nketiah might have banged in 14, 15, 16. We don't know, do we?
No, you don't know.
Yes. Let's give Balogun an opportunity because he's not had much of it. He had a few games here and there when he wasn't ready. Yeah, but I don't know. I think what we need is if we are going to be challenging or want to be challenging on a regular, consistent basis, we need better quality strikers at the club. We do. You know, Balogun and Eddie Nketiah aren't. I don't think at this moment in time are the answer. We need better than that if we're going to. You know,
just a quick point on the thing about Jesus. You're saying that even if he was fit and not necessarily would have won the games or won. I think the only thing is that he could have done maybe a little bit more than Eddie though in the games like the Everton and Brentford game springs to mind more so than anything else. He's probably found a way to because he's got a way of really frustrating defenders in the way he runs around, the way he is.
Yeah,
and I've just got a feeling we may have had. I'm not saying that we would have scored the goals, but I think we may have had more opportunities to unlock the defence with Jesus'
Yeah,
present.
yeah,
You see, Eddie
yeah,
doesn't quite have that, which Jesus does. So it's all ifs and
yeah,
buts now. It's all, in the day, it is what it is. But, I think you're right. I think in the summer we have to, for me, I know I'm digressing from the chat a bit here, but I think, and I don't even talk about transfers, so this is funny, but I think we do need to get someone in the central midfield. I still think we need, irrespective of whether Partey has a run of 3 years now of being fully fit, still need someone in that middle, because we haven't got the necessary personnel there that I think, as you said, potentially challenging or playing on two big fronts, i.e. the Premiership and the Champions League. And we definitely need a striker. We 100% need a striker, and actually someone on the right wing as well, because Saka's just constantly doing it. Keep relying on him. We can't rely on him for the next 3 years or 3 seasons, Richard. We're going to need someone there as well. So there are places to fill, for sure.
yeah. Oh, exactly, and I think we've seen that certainly in the last few games. We've seen that the squad hasn't quite got the depth. The fact that Mikel Arteta picks the same starting 11 every single game, unless there's an injury, he very rarely changes anything, because I think he knows that the backup players in the squad aren't at the level that we need. And that's a big issue. And it is something we've got to address. We spent a lot of money to get this first 11 or 12, 13 players together. We spent a lot of money to do that, and it's great. And now what we've got to do is we've got to go to the next stage, is to get the squad padded out with players of equal quality, so we can, if somebody's injured, or we can rotate, and we're not weakening the team too much. And that's what Man City have got the luxury of doing. They can rotate their squad, and is their team that much weaker? Not usually. It's not, is it? So, and if we want to compete with teams like Man City and next season in the Champions League, we need to be in a position where we've at least got a lot more better quality options. And those 3 positions in particular that you mentioned, your central midfield, although not quite as much of a priority now with Jorginho, we will talk about obviously a little bit later. The right wing situation, without Saka, who else is there? Nobody. So that's a big problem. And of course, the centre forward, those 3 positions are glaringly obvious that we've got to strengthen with better quality, definitely. And if we don't do that, then are we going to be able to maintain the sort of season that we've had this season in the future? Because it's all very well. I mean, this season's great, and if it ends up being, if we end up with some big trophy or two at the end, it's going to be fantastic. But the key is to sustain that, isn't it? Being a one season champion, if you like we sang to Leicester, it is great for that little time, but for a club like Arsenal, we've got to maintain a challenge, haven't we? We've got to keep doing it, and to do that, we're going to have to improve the squad. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, I mean, the Man City game was frustrating for that very reason, that you could see that we are not quite at their level. And yes, of course, so far over 22 games we played, isn't it? 22 games I think we played. Or 23 even, perhaps it isn't it? It might well.
Oh
be
no,
now.
you're 20. You're right. It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So after 23 games, we've proved to be better than Manchester City because we've got more points than them.
Yeah.
So in an individual one-off game, we're not. I don't think there's no doubt about it. We haven't beaten Man City in the Premier League for years, 6-7 years. And this game last week kind of showed that we're still, when it comes down to a 90-minute game against them, they're better than us. But over the course of a season, maybe this season may be different. They have been better than us previous seasons, obviously, quite a way. But this season, maybe not. We'll see. There's still a long way to go. But that's something that, for me, it was quite good to kind of get that confirmation, because hopefully everybody at the club now realises what we need to do if we are going to get to that level on a consistent basis for year after year for the next 3 or 4 years. We've got the basis. We've got a young squad. We've got young players that are going to grow and develop. We need to boost to that. That squad in general, don't we? So that we can push on, and then we could dominate. We could be in a position to dominate for 4, 5, 6, 7 years, couldn't we? With this group of players, but not if we just keep this same 11.
Yeah,
12
no. I agree with 100%.
Yeah, it's not going to work. So this is and that's what that Man City game brought home to me. I mean, I wasn't disappointed particularly at the end. Yes, it would have been nice to have got a result and really won that game, and that'd have been a fantastic message. But we didn't. They won the game, and I thought, well, okay, fair enough. We can see that they have got a better squad than we have. And on the day, maybe Pep was tactically slightly better. He changed things when he needed to. The first half wasn't great. He admitted it himself. He made changes. He adjusted the shape of the team. Swapped a few positionally the players around. We couldn't really deal with that particularly well. And I think almost like I got the feeling at half time that Pep knew Arteta wouldn't change anything. because he knows Arteta so well. So he thought, right, I've thrown a spanner in the works with me formation in the first half, playing 3 at the back and all that kind of stuff. It didn't really work, so I'm going to change it now. And Arteta won't react to that because he never does, and he didn't. And he was dead right, and he didn't react to it. And Arteta kept it the same, and Pep showed again that tactically he's a level above Arteta, and he's got a level above squad as well. And those two things combined resulted in Man City winning that game. But the weekend comes around and they drop points away at a team you'd expect them to beat. Who knows what football can do? Yeah, exactly. So, but in that one-off game, I wasn't surprised. I was hoping to be surprised by the fact that we would have beaten them, because I would have been surprised if we'd beat them. I think we all said last week none of us predicted a win. I don't think that we lost the Man City game. I think we may be looking at a draw possibly. So, and I don't know. It would have been a nice surprise if we'd managed to win the game, but I wasn't too disappointed really. It just brought home to me exactly where we are as a squad at this moment in time and where we need to improve, and that could be a good thing if that is what we do.
If we learn from it, yes, it's a good thing.
Exactly, yeah, and that's what for me. I don't look on losses as defeats. I look on them as lessons, and that's not just in football, in life in general. Things that don't go well, you've got to learn from them, and if you learn from them, it's fine. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes. If you learn from those mistakes and you grow, then that's fine. Make mistakes, but learn from them. If you don't learn from them, then that's the problem, and that's where it becomes an issue. And it's the same with football, isn't it? And if we learn from those things and we can build and grow on the back of that, I'll be quite pleased that Man City beat us. They can win the battle if we win the war long term, and that's fine.
If you ask any individual of a success story, or whether it be as an individual or a collective, they'll be the first to say that we went through a lot of failures first to get there. Because
of course,
it's true. Because if you don't know about failure, you're not going to improve. It's as simple as that.
Exactly. And that's exactly true. And although Chumbawamba were crap, they did make a good line in that song. I'll get knocked down, I'll get up again, and that's what it's about, isn't it? You're always gonna suffer setbacks. It's how you react to them and how you deal with them. And this is why my issue with junior football is the focus is on junior teams winning and winning and winning. No, junior teams need to lose, because that's how kids learn how to deal with, bad things happen. You've got to learn how to deal with it. It's no good shielding everybody from bad things. You've got to face bad things and deal with them, and then you get stronger and grow. And that's what it's all about. And in football in particular, even more so in sport, it's even more important. And that's what, so I don't necessarily mind defeats too much if we can get some positives on the back of it. If we don't learn anything from it and we're in the same position next year, then to me, that would have been a total waste of time. And then that is a defeat then completely. But at the moment, it's just one loss. And let's hope that we can learn from that, and it's going to help us.
Hopefully, it will mirror what happened earlier in the season. We lost to Manchester club and then went on a good run. So hopefully,
we did, and we do seem to be. We have been, certainly the last maybe 2 years. We've been a streak team, haven't we? We'll win or go unbeaten for a lot of games, then we'll lose 2 or 3 in a row, then we'll have another unbeaten run, then we'll lose 2 or 3 in a row. We seem to be a team that does that quite a lot, and that seems to be this season. We went on that great run, and now we lost the game, and then suddenly we found it difficult to win again for a few games, and now we've won again. Hopefully that will happen again. So we do seem to do that for some reason. But anyway, I suppose all teams do to a certain degree. It's closing that, making sure that run of bad games gets less and less each time. So instead of it being 4 or 5 bad results, you only get 2 or 3, and then that's how you become.
I think that's the other thing is the distinction here is when we play teams which want to play and come out to play, we're better. We find that more comfortable than teams that just close up and shut up shop.
We do.
But again, having said that, and I keep looking back at the Everton game, I don't know why I'm giving Sean Dyche any kudos, but to be fair, he did got the players to play some good football as well. I think we were well and truly beaten in that game.
We were. We were.
There's no complaints. We can't say that.
No.
And that one I found easier to take on the chin than the blooming Brentford one. The Brentford one really annoyed me. I don't know why. Maybe because we were, it just felt like we were robbed. I know decisions go both ways. Sometimes we'll get the rub of the green and all of that. But that one, to come out and admit it and say, yes, I spent ages looking at it and I couldn't see anything other than offside, but I forgot to draw the lines. I just found that bizarre, Rich.
No, I mean it was very, very strange, and I still will refuse to believe that the game would have finished 1-0 if disallowed that goal because there was still 15 minutes to play. Brentford
no,
would have
you
set
can't
up
say.
completely differently, wouldn't they? They wouldn't have sat back like they did, having got it to 1-1. They would have tried to get the equaliser. They may well have got one. They may not. We may have got a second goal on a counter-attack later in that game. Who knows? It's impossible to say. The result's what it is, and that's the only thing that matters. We didn't play well enough in that game to have won. Anyway, a draw was probably the right result over the 90 minutes, regardless, wasn't it? Was the most we should have got
I said
out of that
that
game.
at the start. Yeah, I did say that.
Brentford played well and they deserved something. So I'm not. I took that result for what it was. It was a draw, and yes, they made a mistake that they shouldn't have made. The guy's lost his job over it. Fair enough. You could say I don't like to see people lose their jobs over one mistake. Not that it's just one mistake, I suppose.
Well, he made the same mistake against us, Manchester United as well.
It's a high-profile job, isn't it? It's high-profile business, and you can't afford to make too many of those mistakes. I understand that, but he's lost his job over it. It's over. For me, it's over and done with. The game's finished. It was a draw. Fair enough. We didn't deserve any more than that. We move on, and that's it. But yeah, the performance levels in those two games wasn't very good. And Man City game was slightly better. Certainly in the first half, it was a lot better. Second half, maybe not quite so much. We made too many individual mistakes in the second half, didn't we? It cost us. We could have conceded a couple more goals actually in the end. So, but yeah, I mean, it's Man City. We can maybe take that on the chin and say, as long as it doesn't keep repeating itself, those type of performances and those type of mistakes, that's the main thing. So after that, all we could really do was look ahead and focus on the game on Saturday. And what a strange 90 minutes of football and exciting and dramatic 90 minutes of football that turned out to be. I mean, I do want to talk about, obviously, the guy in the picture there, Jorginho. A few people maybe wasn't overly impressed when we signed him. I personally thought he was a good, intelligent buy because the sort of experience that he's got, what he's won in the game, and I thought that he was a good signing in terms of the impact that he could have on the younger players as well, his experience, his quality. And since he's played, it's shone through in every game that he's played. And I thought against Aston Villa once again, even before his rather fortunate goal at the end, which hasn't even been given to him now, but even before that moment, he was our best player in that game up until that point anyway. He dictated the game in midfield. His passing was incredible. Some of those balls he was playing, it was like, wow, and I just thought and this is an accumulation of performance over the last 3 or 4 games when he's played. Yes, people say, we lost the games, he's come in and suddenly the results have gone. And you could look at it like that. But I was looking at his performances. Thomas Partey is a big miss for anybody who's missed Thomas Partey. He's been fantastic. But for have someone like Jorginho to come in with his experience and his quality, it's almost made that loss not anywhere near as bad as we feared it could be. And he's shown in the last 2 or 3 games in particular his real quality. I've been so impressed with him. And that performance against Aston Villa, for me, regardless of that goal at the end, was just fantastic. For me, he was the man of the match by a mile in that game. I just thought he was brilliant. And I just loved watching his performance. The way he was protecting the defence when he could. He was on the ball. It's intelligence with the ball. He doesn't try anything clever or flash. He'll either play a simple ball to keep possession, or if he can see a gap, he can put a ball through a gap for somebody. And he did that time after time after time. And I'm like, what an incredible footballer. I mean, I know, to be fair, we were very, very lucky to win that game. Let's be honest. A shot they hit the bar 5 minutes later, it's rebounded out. We hit the bar, it hits the goalie and goes in. Fortunate. We wouldn't have got the 4th goal without the 3rd goal. So we were fortunate to win that game. We didn't play very well in the first half at all. But when you're after big trophies, you've got to win when you don't always play well enough to deserve to win. And we managed to find a way, fortunate as it was. But it was a very strange game, wasn't it? Because Villa will feel they deserve something out of that game. And you almost, as a neutral, you probably felt that Villa did deserve something from that game. But I thought the second half, we showed a lot of character, actually. To get it back to 2-2, we played a lot better second half. We were the team looking to get on the front foot. And I thought the first half was poor. But you want a response. We were 2-1 down. We got a response. I mean, what did you make of it overall? Because there was so much that happened in that game. We could talk about it for 2 hours because it was just, it was incredible, wasn't it?
Well, we can talk about it for the whole 90 minutes, couldn't we? The game duration.
Well, yeah,
I've got to just mention your live stream, though. That was hilarious. Well, I shouldn't laugh because it wasn't funny, but it was funny when I watched it back. And I think, were we 2-2? We got to 2-2 because I wanted to see your reactions on the goals. So I was like kind of forwarding it to those points. And then I think Eddie Nketiah was going to have a chance, and your stream stopped. And you go, oh, and Eddie's on the ball. Is he going to get the winner? And then all of a sudden, oh no, I don't know because the stream stopped. Then he goes, he probably won't anyway. And then the stream started again, and he missed it. And he goes, well, there's no surprise there, really. It's just
yeah.
Really
It frustrated me by that point.
I could see it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it would have been good if he scored actually, because it would have been quite funny, but he didn't, obviously.
But the game, oh wow! I mean, from a neutral perspective, what a game! I think probably one of the games of the season, Rich. It's just end to end.
It was, yeah.
It was fantastic from start to finish. I mean, you say we're lucky to win, but if you look at the quality of all the goals, even the last one, in the sense that the Vieira had the vision to make that pass to.
Yeah, I know.
It was a lot of players would have just tried to maybe gone and kick it from there.
Had a shot. Had a shot themselves. Exactly.
And all the goals, including Villa's goals, they were all good goals. And so from that point of view, really exciting for the neutral to watch an end-to-end game of football, and then of course the drama at the end as well. I agree. I think the first half we were still probably hungover from the 1 point in 9. And I thought, oh God, when we went 1-0 down, I'm thinking, no, please, this cannot be happening to us. And I just started seeing 1 point out of 12. 1 point, that's all I kept seeing. I'm thinking, no, we can't. But to be fair, we had to end up relying on one of the players that we've relied on for the last 3 years, which is Saka, which in a way is great, but also at the same time, not so good, because we can't keep relying on one. And he's always, he always, when we need him, when we need a player, he does seem to step up and do what he needs to do. And he's there. Great shot for the goal as well.
Oh, brilliant. Bullet.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think any goalkeeper in the world would have saved that. That was just beautifully struck. But it's what impresses me about the lad, Rich, is he gets booted around constantly. He just seems to get up. How many times in that game? And this is the first game I've seen this season. There's been another where I just thought he's got to come off. And he just doesn't. And then they heavily strap him, and he actually even gets better in the second half. You're just thinking, what's he made out of? It's just so we're really lucky to have him, and that's why we were talking about that position, because there's going to be a time where he's going to need to be either rested or he might have an injury. We're going to need someone, and you can imagine, how do you replace someone like him, albeit even for a few games? You're going to have to find something quite spectacular, aren't you? Because he does the business. So Saka for me stood out, but I think you're right. I was impressed with Jorginho. I was like, when we signed him, I thought everyone's having a go, but I thought we would have paid stupid money for these other players. They're not really tried and tested. Okay, maybe with the exception of the chap from, was it Brighton, that we were gonna buy?
Well, even Casado has not got much experience in the Premier League,
exactly. And he's young. Yeah. And I'm thinking, and Arteta didn't make any qualms about the fact that this is just a short-term solution. It's not like for the long term. And if it was a short-term solution where he could bring in experience, he's a winner in Europe, maybe not necessarily in the domestic competitions, but he's a winner in Europe. And we've got the winners for the domestic competitions in Jesus and Zinchenko, for the Premiership at least. So you've got a combination of all three now in the squad. And I think that's only a good thing. And, I think we can wait till the summer to get those maybe the bigger marquee for the future signings, also present and future, if you like, or the younger signings. Then at the moment, we need someone to help us get through these last, 17 or how many games that are left now, 16 or so games. And hopefully, end up on the finishing line. But I think he's an astute, clever buy, and I think I love his on the ball player impresses me more at the moment. There was a couple of times maybe for the goals he may have been slightly out of position, because I think he likes to go forward and he likes to be on the ball rather than the other way around. And I think actually the partnership between, and the other guys on the other pods have said the same thing. They said that the relationship maybe between him and Partey will be better than the one he has with Xhaka, because Xhaka's also trying to, because he's done that a lot this season, hasn't he? Xhaka's so many times he's been in the penalty box when we're attacking. Yeah. So I think maybe he'll be better off suited with someone like a Partey rather than the Xhaka. But I think he was great. I also was impressed with Odegaard, especially in the second half. I thought both of them were playing really well. But yeah, Jorginho has super impressed me, and I'm so glad he's with us. I'm looking forward to seeing more, because some of those passes, Rich. This is why I was a bit annoyed with Nketiah, because the end product fell to him to finish it off, and I'm thinking, no, you can't ruin such a great move like that. You know, it's just put it in the net, or at least make the goalkeeper work, if nothing else.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the most important thing, you know. But I think it was a great test of character, Rich. We were down twice. We came back. This is in the back of 1 point in 9, remember? So we're really under pressure here. We came back twice. And the other thing which I liked was even when we were level and we missed some blooming openers, even Odegaard was responsible for literally an open goal.
That was a sitter, that wasn't it?
Oh, that was, we're thinking. But you know what? They didn't let their heads drop. They keep going, despite Villa also having a go at us.
Yeah,
and
they did.
You've got to mention Ramsdale's save, because that kept us in it. That was a great save at the end. That was literally on the stroke of 90 minutes, I think. It was as late as that. And that kept us in the game and gave us the opportunity to do what we did. But yeah, it was a massive game, a ding-dong game full of great goals. And I remember I was watching the stream and you wasn't best pleased with Zinchenko, but I was happy he got his goal. At least he's broken his duck. He's got his goal.
Yeah,
it's a well-taken goal.
I think his overall attitude is great, and you know you can't knock that at all. No. He's a winner. He lifts people around him, all that kind of stuff. I just, you know, and I'm not necessarily thinking it's his fault, because I do feel as though Mikel Arteta, that's the role he's asked him to play, and maybe it's the role that he wanted someone who could play that role, and he knew Zinchenko could play it, and that's why he's brought him in. But to me, it's like he's far too often out of position defensively, and when we lose the ball, it causes us problems. It's caused us problems every time he plays. It's been more noticeable in the last few games because it's costing us goals, and it didn't cost us a goal necessarily against us. Well, the first goal, you could say he lost the ball. That wasn't being out of position. He was going forward as a left back in the left back position, just got tackled, lost the ball, and they scored. I don't really necessarily, yes, I was frustrated with him for that, but I just feel that too often he's in midfield. So Xhaka is having to drop in to cover the left back position, which is worked on. They work on it. So Xhaka does it, but it's like, why not just let Xhaka be in midfield and let Zinchenko be at left back? I don't understand what's the point of doing that. What does it benefit? If Zinchenko's better in midfield than Xhaka, then play Zinchenko in midfield and don't play Xhaka. If you're going to play Xhaka
in his position,
and play Tierney, I don't understand the reasoning behind it. You don't put your left back into midfield, so your midfielder has to cover the left back. It makes no sense. I can't get my head around it. And every time I watch the game, it frustrates me to see Zinchenko there. It's like, yes, you can play there, mate. Yes, you are. You're a decent player. You can play midfield. But then that's not what you're in the team. Your starting position is at left back. We've got 3 in midfield already. And then when you're in midfield, we're short. And we got short in that area. Then Martin Lee's having to drop back in as well, isn't he?
To be fair, a couple of games it has worked, Rich, where his heat map's been unbelievable, and the most non-left back you can ever. So
it's unbelievable. Honestly,
I do understand your frustration. I completely get it, because you're thinking, well, why are you? So it does work occasionally, but no, I do understand, and maybe. To be fair, I think when Tierney came on, he shored that space up, didn't he, a little bit for the cameo.
But you can see now, can't you? We can see quite clearly the difference. You know, Kieran Tierney, the reason why Kieran Tierney isn't playing is because he can't do that job that Zinchenko can do. He can't play in that way. He's a much better one-on-one defender.
Yeah.
He's a much better defender overall, actually. And as a fullback, an attacking fullback, he's better as well than Zinchenko, because Zinchenko doesn't really get forward down the wing. He doesn't overlap, does he? He's not putting crosses in like Kieran Tierney does. So what Kieran Tierney does as a left back, for me, I like. Because I like left backs to play like that, because that's what you want to see a left back do. They're good defensively. He can get forward, put crosses in. That's what you want to see. With Zinchenko, when he plays left back, he's very rarely defending at left back, is he? Because often he's in midfield, doing stuff in midfield, which he's very good at. But it's not, you know, and why are we making it? Well, not saying making him, what you know, he's having to do almost the work of 2 players, because he's getting into midfield, and his heat map sometimes is amazing. I agree. He's covering the ground, but in a different way. Kieran Tierney's up and down the wing looking for an overlap, whereas moving in field.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the only thing is maybe Arteta was the only thing I'd say about Tierney, and you know, I loved the guy. I mean, I wanted to be captain after a short while, because I loved his attitude. And the only thing that kind of stopped me from saying that for sure was because unfortunately he was getting injured, and I'm thinking, oh no, we can't have a captain that's getting injured all the time. But you know, I loved everything about him. But the only thing I found with Tierney for a while was and please don't take this the wrong way, Rich, but I just found he started becoming a little bit predictable. Exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And he couldn't find that extra, maybe third or fourth dimension in his game to maybe kind of baffle the defenders or baffle the opponents. And thinking, oh, actually, I didn't expect him to do that. And he just seemed to be doing the one thing. The only time that I really felt it worked, him being a proper in that position, a true left back, was when this probably under Emery actually. When Martinelli first came on and he was on the left-hand side. And those two were linking up like a dream. And I was thinking, my God, look at these two players. I thought, this is the future. I thought, this is amazing. And then unfortunately, they both got injured, didn't they? And then it just kind of fell apart. But no, I do hear you. I there's an argument for that. But I just can't see Arteta dropping Zinchenko. Just can't see it. The same way, I think he's got some kind of, not love's probably the wrong word, but he does really like Eddie Nketiah, and I'll be shocked if he drops him. I mean, I think he should, but I think he'll be shocked.
I mean, he almost kind of said that, didn't he, in the press conference when he was sort of asked about it, sort of saying that he's got full trust in Eddie. And yes, I mean, he's going to have to say that, isn't he? You can't come out and say, "Oh, I don't trust me players."
No.
So regardless, it's almost pointless sometimes asking a manager things like that, because they're not going to say, "Well, I'm going to leave him out of the team because he's not good enough." No way is he going to come, even if that's what he believes, he's not going to come out and say it publicly, is he? So, but no, I do believe that Arteta does. What Arteta likes is he likes the attitude of a player as much as their ability on the pitch, doesn't he? And he picks players, and he's bought players for their attitude as much as anything else.
Yeah.
And they've got to be able to fulfill a role in the team. Of course they have. But equally, their attitude is just as important to him. I think so. And I think Eddie's got the attitude that Arteta likes. And that's why Eddie's playing. And that's why Aubameyang didn't last very long. That's why Ozil didn't last very long. That's why other players haven't lasted very long, because they don't have that same attitude that Arteta wants in his players. And I think that's why Martin Odegaard's a captain, not because he's a leader necessarily, but because he epitomises that attitude that Mikel Arteta wants on the rest of the team, and that's why he's made him captain. So you can quite clearly see that. And maybe Kieran Tierney doesn't quite fit either way at the minute. He doesn't quite fit tactically in how Arteta wants to play. And maybe his attitude is not quite the same. He didn't bring him in, did he? Arteta didn't buy Kieran Tierney.
No.
And I don't think he would have bought Kieran Tierney if we didn't already have him. I don't think he would have done. He's not the sort of player that Arteta would buy. Yeah. And I think that's why now he's got the left back or a hybrid role, whatever it is you want to call him, or what Zinchenko is, that Arteta's wanted, and now he doesn't really want Kieran Tierney much in the team. He'll put him in the squad because he's, he can do a job when he needs to. He'll bring him on in games when it's tight and he wants to shore the defensive side of the team up, doesn't he? Or he'll play him in a Europa League game when it doesn't matter. So you can quite clearly see this is what's happened, and you can see the evolution of that in the team over the last couple of years. You can see the players that maybe were more regular in the team before Mikel Arteta, or in the early days of Mikel Arteta, and because their attitude hasn't been what he's needed, he slowly left them out of the team or shipped them out. Some are still out on loan now, Maitland-Niles being one example, and there's a few others, isn't there? So, but yeah, that is, for me, it's a problem, because Kieran Tierney is a very good player, I think. He's a very good fullback, a very good left back. And Arsenal have had a history over the years, haven't we, of very, very good left backs. It's been part of our of the DNA of the club for like 50 odd years, hasn't it? Going back to before the double in 71 and all this kind of stuff. And we've always had really, really good left backs. And Kieran Tierney is a really good left back. Is he quite in the same level as some of those great names from the past? We don't know, but he's a very, very good left back. He just doesn't fit in this style of play that Arteta wants, I don't think. And it's a shame for him. And I think he's going to end up leaving in the summer.
That's it. I was about to say that. I think he's going to go in the summer because he wants to play. I mean, you could see it in the fourth goal, and he kind of just walked. He wasn't. Everyone else was running to celebrate and be part of that melee of absolute euphoria, and he was just like kind of strolling towards it. I don't think he was. It's just not connected, is he? It's just not connected. You can't blame him.
Yeah.
He kept, at one point, like I said earlier, maybe there was even a chance of becoming captain. And now he's just a bit part player to come on as a cameo to shore up the defence maybe for a few minutes. And if he's lucky, he'll get a go at the Europa games, which is probably not what he wants. So I can see him going. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll be surprised if he's still here next season. Actually, really surprised, and it'll be a shame because he is a good player and he's done well for us when he's played, and it's hasn't quite gone. But I say, you know, this to me is one of the things about Mikel Arteta that I find difficult to really warm to, is that he's far too set in what he wants. He won't bend at all for anybody or anything. And sometimes you could say that's a good quality to have, and in certain aspects it is. But sometimes when you're managing people, you've got to sometimes be a little bit more flexible, haven't you? Not everybody's the same. Not everybody's gonna fit exactly what you want, but you've got to get the little bit out of them that you can and channel that in the right direction. And clearly he's not doing that with Kieran Tierney. You made that good point about that fourth goal. You could, a player that's connected in that team, regardless of whether they're playing or not, would be running and celebrating, even if they was a substitute and not sitting on the bench. And some of the players on the bench, I mean, I know it's just like a different situation, but when we scored the third goal, Martin Ødegaard had gone off by that point, and yet he was there celebrating with the team on the other side of the pitch. He ran all the way across.
And Xhaka did the same for the fourth.
Oh, Xhaka had gone off as well, hasn't he? Yeah, of course he has.
He still had his kit on. He still had his whole kit on. So you thought, hang on a minute, we've got a 12th player.
Yeah. So, you know, but obviously they're playing every week, so of course they're going to be committed to the calls. But even so, you saw only react to some of the other substitutes when the goals went in. Matt Turner, for example, one or two others on the bench. Yeah, and you could see the difference in that with Kieran Tierney, and obviously he clearly wants out of the club. And I think in the summer it is sad. It's sad to see. He'd probably end up like somewhere like Newcastle or somewhere like that. I would imagine. Yeah, I think that's probably where he'll end up, and it'll be a shame. But you know, that was one of the kind of downsides of that game really on Saturday. Seeing that really in a player, and not just on Saturday, but in general, seeing the way his career's going backwards at the club. Through technically, I don't think it's any fault of his own. It's not like he's performed badly. You know, you've got to look at it. And we spoke about Eddie Nketiah just before, and it's like Kieran Tierney's level of performance has never dropped, really. He's got a few injuries, but his level of performance never dropped, and yet he's suddenly gone down in the pecking order. And yet other players whose levels of performance have dropped get picked in the team every week. And I can't get my head around that either. I know they're different positions and there's different players that can replace them. Maybe we don't have the same options with Eddie, but even so, I don't know. I find it strange how, I don't know, sometimes I think about it too much. I just can't get my head around some of the things that's happening. I'm like, that makes no sense to me. That just makes no sense. Kieran Tierney, his level of performance, deserves a place in that starting 11 ahead of one or two players that are getting picked every week that maybe don't deserve that because their level of performance isn't the same. And Tomiyasu comes in for one game, makes one mistake, and he's out again.
Yeah, that surprised me actually about the starting lineup. I think I said it on one of the other pods. I thought I didn't surprised about much of it, but I was surprised at that. I thought, hang on a minute, he didn't
kill his career, isn't it? For me, it could kill his career at Arsenal in the same way that it's done with Kieran Tierney. He didn't get left out because he's made mistakes, but one mistake he made, yes, it was a horrendous mistake and it cost us a goal, but you can't kill a player like that. He didn't play badly after.
No, he didn't play badly.
Did he? No. And he didn't deserve to get left out of the team like that. For that, I mean, that may not have been the reason. It just seems strange that he made that big mistake.
Reason. It could be purely tactical, but I don't see why. I mean, Tommy does a good job for me when he plays. He made that mistake to let De Bruyne score that goal, but that you're right. Apart from that, there wasn't that much. He didn't do much wrong for me.
I thought he did okay. I thought he had a fairly steady game.
And if he has a run of 2 or 3 games, he's going to be the same level that he was when he first came on. Do you remember he literally got off the plane, started straight away, and he was a revelation. We were like thinking, oh my God, this guy's incredible.
But again, though, Neil, do you not think it could be a little bit that Tomiyasu is the right-back version of Kieran Tierney in the way he plays? He's a good one-on-one defender. He likes to overlap. And very similar to Kieran Tierney. They're a different type of player, but as a fullback, they're quite similar in style, aren't they? Whereas when Ben White, because Ben White obviously has played as a centre-back, he's played as a defensive midfield player as well, hasn't he, when he was on loan at Leeds and stuff like that. And maybe a bit like Zinchenko at left-back, maybe he wants his fullbacks to be more flexible like that tactically.
Dynamic and drifting in. And
maybe Ben White is a bit more able to do that than Tomiyasu is, and maybe that's why Ben White's played right back most of the season, and Tomiyasu, even when he's been fit, has been on the bench with Kieran Tierney. I mean, they were two of our best players last season, weren't they? Tierney and Zinchenko and Tomiyasu. And now they're left out of the team completely.
Do you know what?
And he's gone with Ben White. Who would have thought Ben White would play right back pretty much all season? Who would have thought that? Nobody.
No one. He was brought in as a centre, wasn't he? So
as a centre back, and he played centre back last season. Most of last season was centre back, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
I know he was coming, but I don't know. It's strange.
I think, the Tierney one, I've kind of resigned myself to that we're most likely going to lose it.
Yeah.
But I think if the same thing kind of happens to Tomiyasu, that's going to really hurt, because I really like Tomiyasu big time.
I do. Yeah.
And I think, at the moment we're quite strong defensively because we've got options. But if we were to lose Tierney and Tomiyasu, then we're going to have to be looking at those positions as well again. It's like, hang on a minute. And then, of course, we've got this other guy, haven't we, Kiwior, to come in. Yeah, so I don't know how that's going to work. But I can't see Holding having much life left, because if Kiwior's there, where does that leave Holding?
Yeah.
He's like 4th, 5th place down, isn't he now? So I don't know.
Well, he still comes on when we're 1 goal up in the last minute.
He doesn't do too. I know. I know your thoughts on him. He doesn't do that bad.
No, I mean, that's what he does. That's his role, isn't it? If we're winning by 1 goal with a minute to go, he's going to come on and he's going to head 2 or 3 balls away and boot one into the crowd. And that's what he's going to do. That's fine, because that's what he's brought on to do.
I like when he boots at the crowd. It reminds me of the old days with Adams and Keogh.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I've got no problem with it. I don't want Rob Holding to be playing for 20 minutes or half an hour because he's more likely to do something stupid. But 2 minutes at the end, I'm fine with, because none of that's any work.
But he doesn't moan. He doesn't moan.
No, he doesn't moan. He gets on with it. He's a nice guy. He came through well in a documentary, didn't he? He's got nice hair now and everything else. So he's fine with Holding. We love him, but he's just, again, a bit like Eddie. He's not quite good enough, is he, for where we are now as a club? But where does that leave that Kiwior? Because he's not even played yet. He's been on a bench a couple of times. He's not even come on. And yes, maybe the games have been too high pressure to throw a young player in that hasn't played in the Premier League, and you can maybe understand reasons why, perhaps. But we'll see what happens with him. But he looks like, because he's a left-footed centre-back, he's more cover for Gabriel, isn't he? So we've got an option there. We've got option to replace Saliba as a right-footed centre-back. Obviously, Ben White can drop in there. Rob Holding still, if he stays at the club. So, we've maybe got more options there. But yeah, the fullbacks is a strange one for me. I'll never quite get my head around that, I don't think. But
it'd be interesting to see if he does that shuffle for the Europa. It depends who we get, with all due respect to who we get. But it depends on the draw, and I think that's on Friday, isn't it? And it'll be interesting to see if he might chance the new boy there. But maybe along with Saliba. So Saliba's the experienced one, and he's there. And maybe, and maybe you're right. Maybe he'll play Tomiyasu instead of Ben White for that. So there's chances Tierney may get a shout. But this is the thing, though. I don't think Tierney's going to stand for just wanting to play in the Europa. I can't see that with him. I think he's good enough to go walk into another, Prem or a high-ranking team and literally be a starting player. So
yeah, exactly. And I suppose it's like anything, though, isn't it? Some players sometimes have to think that, do I want to be a squad player for a successful team and win some trophies, or do I want to go somewhere else, play every week, but maybe not win as many trophies or have the opportunity to win as many trophies? It's sometimes a player's got to weigh that up as well. Plus, we have a contract that one makes a difference as well. Let's be honest. No. What they're getting paid at the end of the week it sometimes talks a lot, doesn't it, as well, of where they want to go and where they want to be. But no, I think with Kieran Tierney, he wants to play. And I agree. I can't see him hanging around. And I hope you're right about Tomiyasu. I think it would be a mistake to let Tomiyasu go.
Huge.
I really do, because he's been. I know obviously this season he's not played as much, but last season he came in. No one had heard of him. Sky were trying to make out he was a crap signing, and he was brilliant, wasn't he? I loved his attitude, the way he defensively one-on-one defending. He was brilliant, and I just loved him. And this season, I still can't understand how Ben White has taken his place as a right back. Not that Ben White's been playing bad, because he hasn't.
He's done all right.
Yeah, he's done all right, but it's that I'll never get me head quite how that happens. Well, how did that decision in Mikel Arteta's mind? How did he come to that decision that Ben White's going to be better at right back than Tomiyasu, who was brilliant last season? I don't know, but anyway, that's what. Again, is it an attitude thing? Has Ben White got that right attitude? He didn't have the right attitude for England in the World Cup, did he?
I can see Tomiyasu suiting Arteta's way of thinking.
Yeah, you'd have thought so, wouldn't you? You would have thought so, but I don't know. I can't understand. I'd like Arteta to actually come out and explain the reason for that. Actually, I'd like someone to ask him. If he came on the show, I would ask him. What was your reasoning behind leaving Tomiyasu out of right back and putting Ben White there? When
you'll ask him quite a lot.
I'd love to ask him. I really would. There's loads of things I'd like to ask Mikel Arteta. So if anyone knows Mikel Arteta personally, see if he'll come on, because I'd love to ask him a few questions, because I think it might help me to understand a few of these decisions a bit more, because they baffle me, and I watch the games and I'm baffled a lot of the time. What is going on? Why is this happening? And then we'll win 3-0 away from home against Brentford. I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough. It works, but I don't understand it still. It does work, but I don't know why. So I would like to find out a bit more about all that. But anyway, we've got Terry in the chat. He says, "Good evening, Richard. Liking this shirt. Yeah, it's the the over and over again shirt." He says, "Neil, I'm Mr. Positive Guru and feel good factor man." Well, yeah, exactly. Neil always brings us up in life, doesn't he? Terry says he's working, but listen, well, you're always working, Terry. You need to have some time off, man. It's not bad. City game, he says City have better individual players. Yeah, of course they do. They've got a better squad. We know that because that's their Man City, and they've had that team for quite a long time, haven't they? Terry says, I agree 100%. We need a defensive midfielder, centre forward at least in the summer. Yeah, we do. Let's see what happens. It's a long way off yet. We'll see what happens. Going back to the Brentford game, Terry says, problem when VAR get it wrong, it can cost thousands of pounds and managers' jobs. Yeah, it can. It's cost him his job, the VAR guy, to be fair. So, he's paid the ultimate price, hasn't he, as well, which I suppose is, the managers might lose their job. He's lost his job. So it kind of, that's what's happened there. I think this is a joke from Terry. He says, we should buy Mings, as a centre forward, as a perfect header back for Saka. Yeah, when he hit it down to him, didn't it? It was a good little assist actually from Tyrone Mings, which was good. And he said about Eddie there, he said, Eddie is Arteta's love child. I heard it on the grapevine whilst on the dock of Herne Bay. Well, yeah, it seems to be because he certainly seems to play every week regardless of how well he's playing. And some of those chances he's missing, ridiculous, aren't they? But anyway, the most important thing was that we won that game, and it doesn't matter. Maybe we were fortunate at the end. Yes, we were. The goal was lucky. Jorginho's. I want to give it to Jorginho because he deserves it. But it's an own goal, and it's funny that it's Martinez, I suppose, that got the own goal. But and then of course he came up for the corner and he got the. What Unai Emery said after the game about
he walked off, Rich. He was fuming. He doesn't like him. He does not. No, he doesn't. And do you know what, Rich? That is so unlike Emery because he's quite a nice guy.
Yeah, I was shocked. When I heard the interview at the end, I was shocked. I had to play that about 3 times. I think, did he really say that?
Yeah.
I was absolutely shocked. I mean, he clearly didn't like that at all, did he?
He's gone. I can't see him going same beyond the summer. He's gone. Emery, unless Emery goes, but there's no way they're going to be working together next season. No way. No, he does not like him. I think also he was upset. And I'm quite rightly so, because the World Cup final. Yeah, of course you're going to be. You've got to come on. The biggest competition, a sporting event in the world, and you've won it. You've got every right to be overexcited, euphoric, all the rest of it. But his antics, just not on. The stuff that he was doing in front of billions of people. Like that, no. And Emery was just like he made a comment. He goes, "I'm going to deal with him when he comes back," because he just didn't like it. And I think he's right. Yeah. I totally agree with Emery. And then to do that, and he's like, yeah, he walked off. I was shocked. He goes, "Thank you very much, goodbye." He still said goodbye because that's the kind of guy he is. Yeah. But he knew he was fuming. And he walked off.
He was. I was shocked by that reaction, actually, really shocked. But I agree. There doesn't seem to be much future for those two, I don't think, together after that latest thing on Saturday. And I mean, it was quite funny. You don't often see goals like that, do you? When a goalie's come up for a corner and a team score with an open goal and Martinelli celebrating before he'd scored and stuff like that. It's
even Vieira, even he was like, when he felt
Vieira was on the halfway line. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
it's great.
I mean, it is funny because it's Martinez and what's happened with him since he left Arsenal and stuff like that. But I mean, I think we have to hold our hands up and say we were fortunate. As well as we played in the second half, and we did. We played really well in the second half. We took the game to them. We left ourselves open to the counter attack. But I like that. You see, I've said before, there's been too many games where Arteta hasn't taken any risks in the way that we've played. We've still been quite conservative, and maybe if we've sneaked a goal, we've sneaked a goal. But in this game, although we did sneak a goal, rather luckily, in that second half, we really pushed on. We left ourselves open to counter-attacks. Villa could have scored 2 goals themselves.
They could have got 2 goals,
at 2-2, and could have won that game. But he was prepared to take those risks to try to win the game. And I actually say, well done, Mikel Arteta, for doing that, because he hasn't done that enough. And I was really impressed with that, actually. That really, really impressed me, because that's what I want to see more. Yes, it works, so you feel better. If we'd lost 3-2, everyone would have said, why did he try? Why didn't he settle for a goal? If you can't win, then don't lose, kind of thing. But I quite like the bravery of that whole kind of second half performance. It was brave, and I like that. I want to see that more off. Because to win trophies, you've got to take risks. You've got to. And sometimes they're not going to pay off, but sometimes they are. And when they do, you can see the benefit of doing it, and that's what I was so pleased about more than anything, was that he did.
That's what stood out for me.
To win, and we won it, and it worked.
Yeah, that's what stood out for me. Again, it was, as I've mentioned before, I'm sorry to repeat myself, but it was the mentality of the players and the attitude. They just carried on doing exactly the same thing to get a goal, and their heads did not drop once. I mean, that Odegaard almost open goal, their heads could have all dropped, thinking it's not going to be our day today. We might as well just go for the point. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was it.
It's one of those days. Nothing's going to work for us. We'll just go for the point. But no, they carried on and carried on and carried on. And there were some other great moves. That one that Eddie just dinked over the keeper where he should have. That was off a great move.
Why did he take the ball across? He was straight on at goal. Just push it in front of you, and then he's good at them little dinky finishes, isn't he? Well, he's good at them.
You mentioned it earlier. He's probably lost a lack of confidence. He's lost his confidence at the moment. And he's probably trying that little bit too hard to get that goal, to get his confidence back. But it's going like a vicious circle. So maybe he needs, if he does play, I mean, I actually hope he scores against Leicester, because he can be useful if he starts getting a few goals here and there. And you know what? The other good thing is, Rich, or the positive thing is, I think Jesus isn't far off. I think it'll be another 2 weeks. Maybe we'll see him on the bench. So we've got that option as well coming to us. So. And then
we always knew sort of early March, mid-March he was going to be back. And it seems to be about on track, and I agree he's going to be back soon. Yeah.
And then the other encouraging factors was the fact that Emil Smith-Rowe's on the bench. I love him. I really do like him as a player. I'm just a bit worried that he's not going to be Jack Wilshere 2.0 with his injuries. That's the only thing.
That worries me. Yeah.
And I don't know whether you agree or not, but it was nice to see Reece Nelson on the bench, simply because. Yeah. Before he got injured, he started showing us a lot of what we expected of him when we first heard the name and where he was coming through the ranks. And I know he's not a Saka replacement, but if there is a need to replace Saka, he could not do a bad job in that position for us. And I really was impressed with the way he was playing before his injury. I think he can play. Can he play both sides? Am I wrong in saying that? I think he can.
Yeah, I mean, when he came on against Nottingham Forest, got them 2 goals, he was playing on the left, wasn't he?
Yeah, there you go. That's it. Yeah.
And then he obviously can play on the right as well. I mean, funny enough, a few months back now, earlier this season, I had Mark Arbour was on the show. He used to be a professional with Dagenham and Redbridge, a few other clubs, but he was actually a youth coach at Arsenal. When obviously Saka, Smith-Rowe, Nelson, all them guys, and he coached them when they were younger. Oh, wow. And he actually said that at that age, Reece Nelson was better than Smith-Rowe and Saka. Wow. He was a better player, and he really, really rates him. And he thinks that given a run in the team, Reece Nelson will be an absolute star. And he coached him as a youngster, so I kind of, I trust what he says. Yes. And I never really saw it before. This was before that Nottingham Forest game, so it was before he had made that impact in that game. It was quite close to that game. It may have been a couple of weeks before, actually. And since he'd said that, I was looking maybe back on some Reece Nelson games and trying to see. And he said with Reece Nelson, it's like he doesn't have that same inner confidence as Emil Smith-Rowe or Bukayo Saka in their own ability. He comes across as though he has, because he's quite, he's got that sort of
swagger
inside, and he needs to be playing, and then he can get it out. And he was 100% convinced that given the game time, Reece Nelson will become a better player than Saka and Smith-Rowe, which I found staggering. But I trust his judgment 100%. So I'm really excited to see how Reece Nelson does develop, because he hasn't really done it for me yet. He showed in that Nottingham Forest game. He come on and played well, and then he got injured straight after, pretty much, which was unfortunate. But I'm sort of looking to him now, thinking, he's obviously got something. He's obviously got some quality. The fact Arsenal have kept him as well. And I want to see that now. I'm quite excited to see how he can develop. And like you said, he could be the option on the right-hand side as well, couldn't he, for Saka? He could be that option. And who knows, as the backup. And wouldn't that be great? Saka can't play. Reece Nelson come in and do a decent job and get goals.
That'd be amazing.
It would be great. Another player from Hale End, you know what I mean? It'd be brilliant.
I know.
So we'll have to wait and see how that works out. Oh, we've got Loki in the chat. He says, Loki, I bet you had a great time. And what a game to go to, my friend. That would have been fantastic.
Was he there? Oh, wow.
He was there, yeah. He was going. So brilliant game to go to. That was, I mean, probably for 90 minutes, it would have been quite frustrating when it was 2-2. We knew we needed to win, and then suddenly the last few minutes of stoppage time would have been fantastic, wouldn't they? They are the sort of away days that you like, though, aren't they? A last-minute goal away from home to win the game. A big game. No, incredible. So it must have been a great day, Loki. I'm sure you had a great time indeed. What fun that must have been. But yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, we did deserve to win the game for that second half performance, and we overcame adversity in the game as well, which was great. Character, mentality, all these things that we've questioned came through in abundance in that second half, and that's what we want to see, in those moments, and hopefully that will stand us in good stead for more tests like that that's going to come. There's going to be moments in the rest of the season where we're struggling, we're behind, things aren't going our way, and we've got to find a way to get a result. We couldn't do it against Everton, we wasn't able to do it against Brentford, we couldn't get a result against Man City, but we've done it against Aston Villa. The only slight concern I've got is, if you remember last season when we played Aston Villa away, we came into that game, we had a couple of poor results. We then beat Aston Villa away 1-0 with a pretty good performance. We thought, we've turned the corner, and then we lost our next three. And I'm hoping that.
Come on, Rich, don't think like that, please.
because we've gone to Aston Villa on a poor run. We won, played well, and then last season it led to 3 defeats in a row. I'm hoping that doesn't happen again.
Don't say that.
It's just little things like that stick in my head, like things that happened before, historic stuff, kind of. And I'm thinking, please don't let that happen again.
No, it's not going to happen.
And you look at the pictures and you're thinking that won't happen. But then last season we lost to Brighton and Southampton, Crystal Palace. They were the 3 games, and 3 games on paper you'd have expected us to win. We've got 3 games coming up which you expect us to win. So I'm a little bit concerned. But anyway, I'm sure I'll be wrong. But I'd rather be cautious in my thoughts about it, and I'll be more excited when we do win. And it makes me feel better. Anyway, we've got one of those games. The first one is another, I think, a difficult game. It's a ground we've done pretty well in recent years, but Leicester have found a bit of form. They lost yesterday, but they've been playing pretty well. I think this is going to be a tough game. So Leicester, King Power, we've won our last 3 visits there in all competitions, which we lost the previous 3 before that, so it's been a bit hit and miss maybe in recent years. But Leicester have been a bit hit and miss this season, actually, haven't they? When they've played well, and when they haven't played well, they've been terrible. They've had a terrible run. They dropped into the bottom 3. They had a great run, got themselves out of it. They had another terrible run, got sucked back into it again, and now they've gotten on a better run. Although I'll say they did lose yesterday, so. I don't really know what to expect from Leicester, if I'm honest, because they've been that sort of team this season. They're hit and miss. And what we've got to do is we've just got to go there and show what we showed in that second half against Aston Villa, what we've shown so many times this season away from home in other games as well. That's what we've got to show, because I think if we drop below that level, Leicester are the sort of team at the moment that could punish us. And, it's a potential... let's call it a banana skin, but it's definitely a difficult game away from home. Coming on the back, another away game, 2 away games in a row is never easy. Man City found that they played away to us and away to Forest. The second away game didn't work out as you hope, and it's difficult playing 2 away games in a row. It is, and although we've got a longer gap between them, I still think it's going to be very difficult. I mean, what are your thoughts on that game? I mean, obviously we're going to go into it as favourites, and we're going to go into it with confidence now. But there were still issues in that Villa game defensively that worried me. The first half performance worried me. And I think if we play like that against Leicester, we could be in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, Leicester's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get. Certainly this is. It really is. Either they can be either brilliant or they can be bang average. And let's just hope that either they're bang average or we make them look bang average, or a combination of the both. And I think you're right, Rich. I think we've just got to play our own game, not worry about what their form's been. It's been very up and down. Luckily, recently we had a good track record there, and also this season away from home we've been doing all right. Bar the couple of results, we've done okay away from home, and I think we just got to take confidence from that and build on it. And as you said, build on the second half. Not so much the first half, maybe against Villa, but certainly the second half. And let's try not to play just one half of a game. Let's like we've done the last few, just be good consistently as we were the first half of the season for the full 90 minutes. And I think if we do that, not worry about who we're playing so much, and I think we'll be okay. My only concern is he going to make some changes or not? That's the conundrum. I can't see it, to be honest. If I know Arteta, I just can't. But I definitely would shuffle the front 3, because for me, the front lineup in the last few games hasn't really been doing it. But the fact that I know it was at the end of the day, it was an open goal, but I think Martinelli just getting a ball in the net hopefully has made him a little bit more confident. We know that Trossard, I think Trossard's a great player. We talked about Jorginho, but I think Trossard's a great player as well, Richard. And,
I agree.
do you know what? I know it's not going to happen, but I wouldn't mind seeing a front three of Saka, Trossard and Martinelli. I don't know which way he might play the Martinelli and Trossard, but I don't think that's a bad shout. I mean, I know you probably wouldn't agree, but what other choice have we got if we're going to drop Eddie? But I can't see him dropping Eddie, so, I think he'll still stick with White. I think fundamentally it's going to be the same team, and I don't know about the fitness of Partey, but it will probably still be Partey. Xhaka and Jorginho. If Partey is fit, I'd love to see a Jorginho Partey partnership for a game and see how that works. I think that'd be quite interesting. Seeing Jorginho be a bit more up front, attacking, let Partey sit at the back, keeping an eye on the defence. I think would be quite interesting. Actually,
it would be interesting, yeah. But I kind of agree that Arteta goes with his tried and tested team, his tried and tested partnerships, and he's very clear on partnerships in the team, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
And he likes those partnerships, and he's not going to break them up unless he has to. I mean, I was quite surprised he started Trossard over Martinelli at Aston Villa. To be honest with you, I was pleased he did, because Trossard, I agree with you, I think Trossard's a great player, and it wasn't his greatest game, unfortunately.
No.
Didn't really work for him, did it, for one reason or another? And but I'd like to see him certainly get a lot more opportunities. In terms of that front three, Martinelli, Trossard and Saka, there isn't really a proper centre forward out of those three.
No, there
and
isn't.
You're almost getting into false nine kind of areas, aren't you, with those three? And that worries me slightly. But, Eddie isn't doing the job. And who else
Eddie's
is
not doing the job. So what other choice do we have?
No, that's the problem. This is a problem we've got by not signing another striker. That's the problem that we've got, isn't it? Because we are now stuck with a situation where we either play almost with a false nine. Martinelli could probably play as a centre forward, but if Arteta was going to play him as a centre forward, he would have played him as a centre forward a long time ago, wouldn't he? And
you've said that ages ago. You said that if he would have done it, he would have done it. He just doesn't have.
He's clearly not going to, is he? No. The only chance would be maybe Trossard, because Trossard has played as a false nine at Brighton. He's done that to good effect. I don't like a false nine, but.
Do you know when he scored that hat-trick? He did score a hat-trick against Liverpool, didn't he, Trossard? Was that as a false nine?
Yeah.
And,
he can play there because he's played there before, but I don't personally like a false nine. I just don't really like it. I'd rather have a centre forward that's your target man that you can build around and stuff like that. Martinelli could potentially do that job, but I don't think that's going to happen. So,
the chances it's going to be Eddie. It is.
The chances of Eddie not playing, I think, are very, very low to virtually zero. I think he will play again, unfortunately, probably, and he'll probably miss 3 or 4 chances, but we'll win and no one will care. That's probably what's going to happen. Loki says there he's trying to get tickets for Leicester. Anyone out there, if you know anybody that's got a ticket for Leicester, give it to Loki, because he's our lucky charm. So if Loki goes, we'll win. So if you've maybe gone to loads of games, or maybe you've lost a few that you've been to, give your ticket to Loki and then we'll win the game. You can actually help Arsenal to get 3 points by giving your ticket to Loki, because he's our lucky charm. Terry doesn't think we need Loki. He says 6-2 to us. I don't think it's quite going to be 6-2, but we'll see. Loki said they had an IQ test done at Leicester Uni. He got 127 many years ago. Is 127 good for an IQ test? I don't know. I'm not
it's
really
pretty
sure.
good.
Is it good? Is it? Well done, Loki. That's a good scoring. Well done. But he says it was a long time ago.
Actually.
But okay. There you go. So he needs a ticket now. He's got to get a ticket for Leicester. There you go. So if anyone's got one, anyone knows one, get in touch with Loki. Let him get the ticket. Terry says 100% Neil. Trossard, Martinelli and Saka. Be interesting. It would be an interesting front three. I'm just not quite sure. Loki says Martinelli will become a number 9. No, Arsenal he won't. Absolutely 100% he won't. Or he would have done. No. Maybe for Brazil, quite possibly, but not for Arsenal. I don't think that's going to happen. Terry says Eddie can cut the oranges for half time. He'd probably miss though, wouldn't he? He wouldn't cut them in half, would he? He'd probably cut them down the sides or something. I don't know. We've got Bongo going in the chat. He says, but Eddie gives you the chances and goals like he did for Odegaard. Don't forget. By the way, good evening, mate. I mean,
Good evening.
Does he know? Jesus' movement creates space for other players. Eddie's movement creates space for him. And if he doesn't score, that's the end of that particular attack and that move. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, let's hope Eddie can score a few goals. And like we said, Jesus will be back very soon, next 2 or 3 weeks. So Eddie's got a few more games maybe to start in the team. And let's hope he can get some goals. But I'm not convinced. Even if he scores 2 goals against Leicester, that's not going to convince me that long term he's the right option as a second choice striker when we want to compete at the top level in the Champions League and everything else. I don't think he's good enough, regardless of if he scores against Leicester or not. Isn't going to decide that. That's already been decided by his performances in other games previously. And I remember against Manchester United, the Manchester United game, right? I'd given Eddie a bit of stick beforehand because I just don't think he's good enough. And then he scores 2 goals against Man United. And obviously everybody says, oh, what do you know? Well, look, this is what I know. Since then, he hasn't scored all those chances that he's had. And he might get 2 goals against Leicester, but it doesn't change anything.
It's got to be
He's
consistent.
a centre forward, playing in a team that's attacking a lot, creating chances. Of course, he's going to score goals. Well, I could score some goals playing for Arsenal up front, probably. I'd get 1 or 2 a season, probably. Just if I stood around the 6-yard box long enough. If I wasn't offside, I'd probably be able to score a couple of goals when the ball flying across at me. Do you know what I mean? I'm bound to. Look,
Clive Allen
Raheem
used to do that for Tottenham, Rich.
Raheem Sterling used to score 25 goals for Man City because Pep told him, when we're attacking, stand in the 6-yard box and you'll get chances. So we stood in the 6-yard box, got chances and scored loads of goals. Now he's at Chelsea, he can't hit anything because he's not very good, really. So, and that's, if Eddie's in those positions, he will score goals. That's why he scored goals that he scored, not because he's an elite striker, just because the chances are there. And eventually some are going to go in because that's the life. If you're there enough, some's going to go in. So, I just think that's what we need to think of more long term. Terry says we don't need Eddie. We've got Jay. You're on J20's side now, are you, Terry? After saying, after criticising the signing of him, you're on his side now because he's had 2 good games. But I've always liked Jorginho, and I'm happy he's here. And yeah, maybe play Jorginho up front. That might be interesting, wouldn't it? Instead, we'll see. But no, I mean, let's see what the lineup is. I'm not expecting changes really.
No, neither.
I don't even think Trossard will start. I think he'll go back to Martinelli. That's what I think.
I agree.
Which will be a shame because Trossard needs games. Everyone needs to start games to get a
run.
To get a run, yeah, they do. And especially when you're an attacking player, if you're in and out of the team, you're never going to get that momentum going. No. And I think Trossard, although he didn't have a great game against Villa, it wasn't necessarily his fault, just the way the game planned out when he was on the pitch.
Yeah, but he wasn't bad either, Rich. He wasn't terrible.
No, he wasn't bad. He wasn't the sort of, we was hoping that he was going to start a game, he was going to light the place up and do something amazing, and he didn't get the opportunity to do that. And in he got taken off and stuff like that. And of course, Martinelli comes on for him and gets a goal that Trossard would have been able to score, that anyone could have scored. But that's the life of the football, isn't it, I suppose? But yeah, I'd like to see Trossard start again, but I just don't think he will. Unfortunately, I think Martinelli's back in the team, and fair enough. I mean, Martinelli's a great player, and we like Martinelli in the team. But I'm not expecting too many changes. And if we go and play as well as we can, as well as we did in that second half against Villa, then I would expect us to win. But I don't think it's going to be an easy game at all because Leicester at home. The crowd behind them, they smashed 4 against Tottenham recently. Not that that's a big issue because Tottenham aren't particularly good. But they have got goals in them. This Leicester team. They scored 4 the week. Well, they won 4-2 at Aston Villa actually, didn't they? In Aston Villa's last home game, so they got a similar result that we did. And they were behind and came back and won.
It was very similar. You're right. Yes,
it was. So. Not that will have any bearing on our game against Leicester, probably, but Leicester are a decent team. They've got goals in them. They've got some very good attacking players, and I quite like watching Leicester. I think they play some good football.
Very good team.
And it's going to be a difficult game. I mean, obviously, you're going to predict that we win. Of course, we wouldn't expect anything else. But how many goals do you think we win by? That's more.
Well, I don't think I'm going to be as optimistic as Terry. As much as I'd like that. Wow, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? But. I think we're going to keep a clean sheet. I was debating this, thinking, are we? But I think you know what? I've changed my mind. I think we're going to keep a clean sheet. I think we'll win. I think it'll be 2-0. 2-0. And I'm going to say Martinelli, actually. I'm going to keep my faith with him. If he's going to start, Martinelli 2-0.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, I think a clean sheet may be slightly optimistic. Well, away from home, actually, we've tended to keep more clean sheets, haven't we? Than at home for whatever reason. Maybe the counter-attacking system kind of suits us a bit better, maybe. But I just think this Leicester team have got goals in them, and we have looked a little bit rough around the edges defensively in the last few games, haven't we? We've conceded chances, we've conceded goals, and I'm a little bit concerned about that. Against a team, I say, that do play quite attacking style, especially at home. So I do think Leicester will score. I wouldn't be surprised if it's quite an entertaining game in terms of, I think there'll be a few goals. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few goals again. I know we just had a game with a lot of goals that was exciting. I wouldn't be surprised if it's similar, something like a 3-2 or something like that. I can kind of see there being goals in it, and, hopefully we'll come out on top. But yeah, I think I'll go 3-2 actually. I know it's, on the back of a 4-2, a 3-2 seems a bit optimistic, maybe. They don't often get games like, we'll probably win 1-0 and that'll be it. But I don't know, I just fancy this game could have goals in it just because there's a lot of attacking threat on both teams, and defensively both teams can be a bit suspect at times. Certainly we have lately.
The only reason why I went for clean sheets is because we've not had much luck in the last 4 games. We've conceded in every game, haven't we? I think, or 5 games. Yeah,
the last clean sheet we had was when was the last clean sheet we had?
Wow, it's been a while.
I'll have to look it up. Remember off the top of my head.
Look it up.
Tottenham, maybe? Might have been Tottenham,
Wow, that's interesting, isn't it?
Might have been Tottenham. I think it was.
Yeah, it probably was.
I think it was Tottenham. What, 7 games ago? 6 games ago, is it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we need a clean sheet. You're right. We need one, but are we going to get one against a team that score a lot of goals? I don't know. We'll see. I like this comment from Loki. He says, Eddie, 95% effort, 75% results, like a duck's legs underwater. That's almost a good way to describe it. That's what he looks like when he's playing football. He's moving a lot quickly and not really getting very far. But that kind of sums him up, actually. That's a great shout there, actually. Bongo Guna says that Eddie is learning his new role and not a pure poacher anymore, improving a lot in his all-round game. He might improve a lot, but I think I'm a bit late for the conversation. I was still laughing at Eddie. Well, I think we were laughing at Eddie, wasn't we? I mean, yes, maybe he has got to adapt slightly. The role of the Arsenal striker isn't the role of other strikers at other clubs. I agree with you. And we've seen that with Jesus, but Eddie's had chances to score that a goal poacher that he is meant to be should be taking those chances, regardless of what else he's got to do for the team. We had the same problem with Aubameyang, didn't we? Aubameyang was a goal scorer. He was getting chances and missing them, and everyone was rightly on his back saying, well, he should be scoring those goals. Of course, he should have been scoring those goals, and he wasn't. And Eddie equally should be scoring those chances, or certainly some of them, or certainly hitting them a target at least. There's been too many when he hasn't even... That header against Man City, put wide, the header against Aston Villa, there's in fact 2 headers against Man City. You've got to test the goalkeeper. You're not always going to score, and of course you're not, because goalkeepers are there to stop you scoring, and that's their job, and they're usually quite good at it. But you've got to make the goalkeeper make a save.
Work.
You can't miss the target every single chance you get. You just can't. You've got to hit the target at some stage. You've got to start making the goalie save. And if the goalie's saving 3 or 4 efforts every game, you can say, fair enough, hold your hands up. Yeah, maybe your finishing could be slightly better, but at least you're hitting the target. But he's not even hitting the target, is he? They're going in over the bar, they're going into the crowd, and stuff like that. And he's got to improve. He's got to. I'm sorry, he has.
You were right. 2-0 Tottenham. You were right. It's the last one.
Was that the last one? Yeah.
Clean sheet.
Yeah. What's that, 6-7 games we've played since then? So not defensively, we've not been at the races. And Terry makes an interesting point here. When Zinchenko plays left back, Martinelli on Trossard don't seem to play well. Yeah, is that... I mean, Martinelli's had some decent games with Zinchenko playing left back. I'm sure he has, but certainly recently that has been an issue. And I think the issue is because whoever plays on the left side of the front three has got to drop back quite a lot because Zinchenko goes on his little mission into midfield, and then the cover's got to be there because otherwise we leave ourselves open, and that's the way that we play. So maybe that has an impact on Martinelli playing in that position, and when Trossard's played there as well to a certain degree. I don't know. We'll have to maybe look at the stats on that. Maybe some stats can prove it, but there's something in that. I think so. And Martinelli, as you mentioned before, Neil, Martinelli and Tierney did seem to have a really good understanding previously. And maybe that's what Martinelli needs to get more out of him in the attacking end of the pitch, maybe. He was scoring goals earlier in the season, wasn't he? When Zinchenko was injured and Tierney was playing. So is that the reason?
Interesting.
Loki says there, Brendan is the best manager in the world. I don't know if he's the best manager in the world. He's the best manager in the world called Brendan. I quite agree, if that's what you mean. Because he probably is the best manager called Brendan. I don't think he's the best.
Oh my God.
Is he? Terry says there, stop taking the medication, Neil. It's making you delirious. Yeah, well, he's always been like that, I suppose. Bongo Aguna says no one will believe me who hasn't read it, but in the Arse blog chat I said before the game we'll win 3-0, Saka and Eddie to score and Emmy own goal. Well, we didn't win 3-0 though, did we? We won 4-2. So, and Saka did score and Emmy did get an own goal as well. So you got some of it right. But you know, don't start coming on pretending that you know it all when you said 3-0 and we won 4-2. So you know. But the Emmy own goal was quite funny. We did all enjoy that, I'm sure. Loki says we will score from corners v Leicester. Yeah, they're not very good at defending corners, Leicester, are they? So yeah, we may well do. That might be where we get
could be a Saliba goal, maybe. Who knows?
It could be. He's not scored. Oh, Gabriel ain't scored for ages. He normally gets some goals.
He does.
So he's maybe due one, isn't he? Loki says, I think a 3-1 when he's on the cards. Yeah, I mean 3-1 seems reasonable. I do think Leicester will score. And yeah, I think we'll score because they do concede as well. But yeah, 3-1 would be nice. I'll take a 1-0 to be honest. We just want the 3 points because they're so every single game now. I mean, I've said this before. Winning games in the first half of the season is great fun, but it's a lot easier than winning in the second half of the season when the pressure's there. Every single game now is a cup final. I know it's a cliche and stuff like that, but it is. Every single game is a cup final because every single point that we drop between now and the end of the season could be crucial. Look how disappointed Man City were with that draw against Nottingham Forest because they know them 2 points that they've dropped are crucial points in this title race in this season. It's going to be the same any points that we drop going forward. So,
well, they know better than anyone else, Rich, because of the ding dongs they've had in Liverpool in the last few seasons. Literally, they've been toe to toe like a boxer. It's like one punch, one jab. It's like we can't drop 2 points because the other team's going to win. So they know it from experience, and I think that's the only thing that's the concerning thing, that they have been there now the last few seasons with Liverpool in those kind of battles near the end of the season. We haven't, so that's a concern. But on the flip side of that, I think that they're still going to have a slight. I want them to go far in the Champions League because I think that will slightly distract. I know they've got the squad for it, Rich, but you know Pep so desperately wants that competition. And I think that may play in our hands a little bit. So just wait and see. Just have to wait and see.
I mean, I must admit, having watched the 2 games at the weekend on Saturday, obviously the Arsenal game and then the Man City game, I started to get the feeling that maybe it's just a year. Just, you know, those 2 games in particular. I mean, to get the 2 goals at the end that we did against Villa, it was lucky. There's no question about that. We were fortunate in those 2. I'm not saying we didn't deserve it, but they were fortunate goals, wasn't they? An own goal and then the corner goal at the end. And then for Man City to dominate Nottingham Forest, they should have been 5-0 up. And then to concede an equaliser at the end, Nottingham Forest only attacker the whole game. And for them to drop 2 points, you suddenly start to think to yourself, is it our year? You know, is it the Leicester year?
Was it at one point they had 92% possession or something during the game? It was ridiculous.
Something like that. I mean,
unbelievable.
Nottingham Forest never got a kick. And you know, the only with like 10 minutes to go, the only surprise was how are Man City not 5-0 up in this game?
Wow. And that Haaland missed. Oh.
Yeah, there was just misses all round, wasn't it? The goalie played pretty well for Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
And then for them to break away on rare attack and then to get that goal near the end, you're thinking, wow, is this our year? Is it going to be our year? When things like that happened on that day, you know, and other things that's happened in the seasons where you look at other results, Man City losing some strange games, you know, losing at home to Brentford in the way that they did in the 98th minute, or whatever it was. And just there's been some things that don't normally happen. No. And this season is happening, and it's benefiting us. You know, people can look back. You know, you mentioned the Brentford game, the VAR thing that went against us, stuff like yeah, okay, fair enough. But look at overall the season, the amount of things that seem to not just in our games, in games involving Man City and some of the other teams as well, that have gone in our favour unexpectedly. You know, I don't know. Is it fate? Is it going to be? Does this all mean it's our year? And it might just be that season.
The keeper for Forest was pretty decent. It's Navas, isn't it? Forest's keeper. Is it Navas? Forest's keeper? Who is it? Or am I thinking of someone else?
He's a new goalkeeper, isn't he?
Who was Forest's
I think it's Navas. Yeah, I think it is Navas. Yeah.
Why does that name ring a bell? Was he in one of the recent World Cups and he had quite a good World Cup? Am I thinking of the same person? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's why they've got him. I think that's where
because they
brought him in January, didn't they? Along with I think so. Yeah.
He's pretty good actually, to be fair.
Yeah. He had a good game. He made some good saves actually, and he, you know, and Man City missed some chances, but we've got to go Nottingham Forest away yet. So let's not get too excited.
No, let's
they've
not
got,
get too excited.
got
No,
the
he's
most
rubbish. He's
points
rubbish.
at home.
We'll score 5 against him.
Loki says he's from Real Madrid. Yeah,
There
you
we
go.
are. There we are.
Real Madrid. So that's who he is. He is a good goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Terry says, "Have faith. J20 is on a scoring spree." Well, he's not really, is he? Because he hasn't actually scored yet. But anyway,
We got to give it to him.
we want to give it to him. We do want to give it to him. Bongo Guna says, "Could it be that City don't have the mental energy for a battle for the title again after the intense Liverpool battles or something?" Well, do you know what? I hadn't really thought of it like that, but maybe that they could be burnt out, couldn't they? From all those massive battles that they've had in recent years, maybe they've battled out. Maybe you're right. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, I don't know. They still strike me as a team, Man City, that can win their last 10, 11, 12 games in a row if they have to. And are we going to be able to do the same? Yeah. Are we capable of doing that with that much pressure? Yes, we could win 10 games in a row in August and September and October. Can we win 10 games in a row in April and May when it really matters? I don't know. We don't know because we haven't done it before. But Man City, they can do that because they have done it year after year. They do it, don't they? So, I think that for me to really start feeling confident about winning the league, I think with 10 games to go, we're going to have a little bit of a lead so that we can afford to lose a game or two because they're going to keep winning. That's what
Who they got next, by the way?
That is a good point. I did know, and I
don't like to look at other teams because we should just concentrate on us. But just that
they're at home. I know they're at home.
They got Newcastle. No, that's not right.
They haven't. No, because Newcastle are playing in a cup final.
No, sorry, hang on. Let me go back a bit. Where am I going? That's it. We're too far ahead. They've got Bournemouth away. Actually, well,
nah.
Well,
no, I'm not having that.
He doesn't like travelling south, does he? So
no, he doesn't.
He's already said that.
Newcastle the week after at home they've got. That's going to be an interesting game.
That's going to be a good game, yeah.
But that's the week after the cup final. I think what's going to happen there? One or two things. Newcastle win the cup, and then there's that euphoria, and they have a dip. It happens all the time. We've done it when we won cups earlier in the season. Or they're going to lose a cup final and it all just falls apart for them. That's the danger, isn't it? Either way with that game. I'm a bit worried about the timing of that game. But then we've got Bournemouth at home. You'd expect us to win that one. We've got Everton at home in midweek as well. Don't forget next week. So
please.
We've got a busy few weeks coming up, and then Man City got after that. Crystal Palace away.
Vieira could just
Fulham away that same weekend. Fulham are flying at the minute. That's going to be a difficult game as well, isn't it?
They're all difficult games, to be fair, Rich.
Yeah, no, they are all difficult games. Yeah, of course they are. And like you said, I don't really.
Yeah,
yes, obviously we look at other teams' results. We look at their games, of course we do. But ultimately, if we need to win our games, and that's what matters, then what other teams do is irrelevant, really. We just need to win our games. But we're not going to win them all. We're not. No. We're not going to win all our games. We just have to try and win as many as we can and hope it's ultimately enough. We've got a little bit of an advantage, the game in hand, the 2 points, the game in hand against Everton next week.
That's right.
If we win that, then we're in a great position, aren't we? And then we can afford to lose a game somewhere along the way, but not too many, because Man City won't drop many points now. I don't think
it's very rare that a team, we've lost, 3 now in the league? 3 or 4? 3.
3, yeah. We've lost 3, yeah.
It's rare for, these recent times, it's rare for a championship winning team to lose 5. So, 4 at the most, maybe. But I wouldn't want to lose any more than that. I don't know how many Leicester lost when they won it. I can't remember.
3. They lost 3. We beat them twice.
We beat them twice.
Lost 3.
Yeah, we beat them twice. Yeah.
I mean, Man City have lost 4 and we've lost 3. But then we've got to go away to Newcastle, which Man City have already played. Liverpool. We've got to go away to Liverpool, which Man City have already played. 2 games that we struggle. We're going to struggle in. They're going to be difficult games. We've got to go away to Man City as well.
And Man City as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So they to me are the 3 games that's going to decide our fate, I think. If we can get 4, 5, 6 points out of them 3 games, I think we'll win the league. If we get no points out of them 3 games, I don't think we will.
Yeah.
And potentially we could do either. We could get 9 points. Potentially we could. I don't think we will. But I think those 3 games are what's going to decide our fate this season. If we lose all 3 of them, because they all come quite close together as well, don't they? They're not massively spaced out. They're quite.
I think you're right.
They're quite close together. So it's going to be. They're the 3 games for me. That's going to decide it all. Well, we've got Liverpool on the 8th of April. That might change,
right.
obviously. The April games will change. Then we've got, when are the others?
Leeds.
Man City, 26th of April. We've got Chelsea at home. Not that that's going to be a problem because they're terrible.
They're rubbish.
We've got Newcastle away beginning of May, 6th of May.
It's all near the end, isn't it?
3 games are in a run of like 6 games. Those 3 come in that run of 6 games. So
yeah,
that's going to decide it, isn't it? I think. But
yeah,
see.
very possible that they're the key games, and also our very last game against Wolves.
Wolves at home. If not Forest away, then Wolves at home. Last 2. They could both be fighting for their lives, couldn't they? At the last couple of games.
Great.
Nothing's easy. Nothing's easy.
No, we're going to have to.
I like it on Twitter when people they write your next 6 fixtures down. Oh, how many points do you think we'll get? And everyone's going, we'll get 18 points from the 6 games. It's like, well, football doesn't work like that. It just doesn't. No matter what the games look like on paper, that's not how it's going to work. We may well get 18 points, but
just take it one game at a time.
Take it one game at a time, exactly. Bongo Green says, worried about Man U.
No, me not.
Not especially. I mean, yes, they've got themselves back in it, haven't they? They're not far off now. You know, if we lose a game, they win a game, the gap's hardly anything. So they've put themselves in with a chance. But I just think they've lost too many games already. And, you know, they'd have to pretty much win most of the games between now and the end of the season. The Europa League, they've got a cup final next week. I think it's too much. I don't think. Are they still in the FA Cup as well, Man U? They might be, yeah. So they've got a lot to play for, and it's going to affect their league results, and they can't afford to drop too many more points.
I think they'll end up third. I think.
Yeah, I think they'll probably end up third as well. Yeah, I mean they've had a good season, but yeah, I'm not really worried about them. It's just a Man City, isn't it? I think. We know that.
Yeah, agreed.
Loki says I nearly got beat up at Forest for exposing some ticket touts. Happy days. Oh, I love Forest as an away day though. It's a great place to watch football. I love the ground. I think Nottingham Forest are a great club actually. I'm glad they're back in the Premier League. But Loki says 10 wins, 2 draws is what we need. Potentially it is. But can we do it? We'll have to see. Bongo Gona says we lost 1 and drew 2 in the first 19. Already lost 2 and drew 1 in the second 19. So only wins to come. Well,
love it.
If we're gonna get 100 points, that's what it's gonna have to be, isn't it? So we'll see. Terry says we would have won it by April. I don't think we would have won it by April. The only way we'll win it by April is if Man City go on a bad run and lose 3 or 4, which I don't see happening personally. But anyway, the earlier we get it done, the better, because it's a little bit easier on the heart, isn't it? But
oh god, yeah. But we don't do it that way. We never have.
No, we don't. Of course, we don't. It's going to go to the last game, isn't it? I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Oh god,
it's going to go to that last game, but that would be incredible, though, wouldn't it? If it did, imagine that game against Wolves, last game.
I'm
of the
definitely
season.
going to be there. If we are, if that's the case, I have to be there.
Yeah, well, I mean, what I'm looking at doing is because the same weekend, I think they're moving the games now to the Saturday. Is the last weekend of the WSL season as well. Right. And not that our women are probably going to win the league, because I think we're maybe not going to. But I'm going to come down for that weekend and go to the women's game on the Saturday, and then even if I can't get a ticket for the Wolves game, which is unlikely, just going to go there anyway, be outside the ground, enjoy the experience, enjoy the atmosphere of it all, and it's going to be great. There'll be loads of people outside there. Maybe watch the game in the Gunners pub or something, or one of the pubs.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. So that's definitely what I'm going to do. It'd be good, but let's see what happens. I mean, it might be, even if it's been decided before then, I might do it anyway, because it'll just be one big party.
It'd be lovely, yeah. Oh god, it'd be huge.
Yeah,
and hopefully it'll be a nice sunny day as well. So it'll be lovely.
Yeah, lovely sunny day. Yeah, the crowd going mad, everyone celebrating. It'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? So,
oh god, that's what we live for, mate.
Yeah, it is. I would love to be a part of that. So we'll have to do that. Bongo Gona says if we win it by April, it will be the first. I see what you mean. Yeah, okay, I get you now. Yeah, April the 1st. Yeah, we definitely won't be winning it on April the 1st. That's for sure. But I don't care if we win it in April or we win it on the last game. If we win it, that would be amazing. It would be an incredible achievement. Loki says 12 pins. Yeah, there you go. 12 pins. That could be good, actually.
12 pins, another one. Yeah.
Finsbury Park, maybe. That could be a good place to go, actually, Finsbury Park. I think it'll be rocking at Finsbury Park.
Oh, my God. You can't move
it. It would be packed, yeah. Well, on that day, all the pubs are going to be packed.
True, on that day it will be. Yeah.
They're all going to be packed, aren't they? But it'd be great to just be part of that experience, right? The atmosphere and everything else.
Have to do it.
Yeah,
100%.
I think so. 100%. Yeah. And you never know. Someone might be kind enough to let us have a ticket.
That'd be lovely. It's just so.
We'll get Mikel Arteta on the show. I'll ask him all the questions I've got for him, and then he can get us a special ticket for the Wolves game. That'd
Be
good. I'll
nice
try
to
and-
him, Rich. All right, be nice though.
No, I'd be nice to him. I just want to ask him some questions. That's all. I just want to chat to him and look. I'll say, look, Mikel, there's a few things I'm not quite understanding. They're working. I don't understand how they're working. So can you please explain to me your reasoning behind them and why they're working and how they're working? Because it baffles me every week.
Oh my God.
It's all good. But anyway, let's see if he wants to come on. He's welcome. As Steve says, get him on the show. We'll have him on the show. But yeah, that wouldn't probably won't happen. Anyway, so Leicester, we are going to win. Of course, we are, and we're going to increase our lead at the top of the league. It's going to be great fun, and we're going to have another good weekend, I'm sure. And yeah, I mean, we all enjoyed Saturday, didn't we? In the end, it was good fun. Which is great stuff. So that is another Arsenal review, number 23 of the season, which is good. And there's going to be a few more to come, of course, every week till now and the end of the season, which is going to be good. Loki says they're kicking balls across the road over the traffic. That'd be a good idea. We could have a big game of football, actually, can't we? Why don't we all go to Finsbury Park and just play football? All like thousands of Arsenal fans with football just go mad, have a big, massive game at Finsbury Park after the Wolves go. That could be fun. But yeah, so the 23rd edition of the Arsenal review this season. It's been good fun, and we have to keep going now because we're top of the league, and it's because I changed the name of the show because we've done it slightly differently this season. That's what's worked, so we've got to keep it going. I'm quite superstitious with stuff like that. I don't want to change things now, so that's what we're going to have to keep doing now until the end of the season because that's why it's. That's what I'll tell Mikel. I say it's nothing to do with you, mate. Nothing to do with you at all. It's because I changed the name of the show and we're doing it differently this season. That's what's made the difference. Nothing you've done.
You probably agree.
That's what's made the difference. It's not you. You can bugger off, mate. It's nothing to do with you. It's what we've done. So that we'll take all the credit at the end of the season.
Goodness,
but no, it's been good fun, and we're enjoying the show. There's a few less shows this week than maybe we would hope to get you, but that's due to one or two other little issues. Melvin was meant to be bringing us the Highbury Matter show this week, but unfortunately his guest wasn't able to make this week. Of course, next Wednesday Arsenal are playing against Everton, but he has penciled it in for next Tuesday, the 28th of February, for that one. It's going to be 1990 to 1992. What a great time that was. So that is going to be Highbury Matters next Tuesday at 8 o'clock. So definitely join Melvin and his special guest for that show. It's going to be great. There's, I think that's it for this week, isn't it? Because there's not much going on. So on Friday, I'll be back with the women's weekly show. We're going to Arsenal play Chelsea in the FA Cup on Sunday. Wow, that is a big game, isn't it? So we're going to look ahead to that game. We're going to look back on the Arnold Clark Cup, which is happening this week. England play Belgium in the sort of the final on Wednesday, so England could win that again. So we'll look at that as well. And I say the big game against Chelsea, of course, Saturday. 3 o'clock kickoff again. 2 3 o'clock kickoffs in 3 weeks for Arsenal.
I think I'm going to watch your live stream because that looked like fun on Saturday. So I think I might.
Oh, they're all good fun, mate, honestly. Get involved.
I'll have to join your stream and watch you eat another Yorkie. That was good as well. So
yeah, no, Yorkie. I used to have a Yorkie at half time on the Saturday games. It's tradition, really. You can't not do it, and it worked because we were losing at half time. We had a Yorkie and we won. So again, you see, I'm going to take credit for that as well. So Mikel Arteta didn't have any impact. It was my Yorkie that did it. Again, so no, but I love my Yorkie at half time, so that's good. I mean, other chocolates are available, but if Yorkie do want to sponsor me, then they're quite welcome to. Is it Nestle that make Yorkie? Is it Nestle?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I do have a Yorkie every day. So if you want to get involved with the show, feel free. Yeah. So yeah, that'll be on Saturday. And of course, Sunday we'll be doing the coverage of the women's game as well. That kicks off at 2 o'clock actually. So the good news for that is we can watch that game at 2 o'clock. Arsenal against Chelsea in the FA Cup. It's going to be absolutely epic, that one. And then afterwards, of course, it's the Carabao Cup final. Newcastle against Man U. So that'll be good. So Sunday's going to be good. It's going to be a good weekend. So join us for all of that kind of stuff because it's all good fun. Bongo Guna says, cheers, guys. Thanks for your Thank you very much for joining us, mate. Again, good to see you. Loki says, qualities. How chaps and chatters, there you go. Good stuff. And Terry says, great show again tonight, Richard, Neil, and all in the chat. Have a great week. Come with you guys, indeed. Yep, come with you guys. Good to see you again, Terry. Hopefully you finish work now. You can chill for the rest of the evening. So enjoy your evening, guys. I'll say thanks everyone in the chat. Some great comments tonight. It's been good fun. It's always nice when you're top of the league, isn't it?
100%.
It makes it much more enjoyable. So thanks for joining us. Thanks to Neil, of course, as always. You've been busy this weekend. I've seen you on a couple of other shows you've been on. You've been busy, haven't you?
I've been busy. I wasn't even well enough. I don't know how I managed to do it. You had to after that win. Come on.
So
Yeah, of
it's a
course.
pleasure,
Exactly.
but always an honour to be asked for all of these shows. So I really appreciate you, Rich. Thank you, as always. Thank you. Means a
No,
lot.
it's always great to have you on, and hopefully next week we may get one or two more people coming on as well. We'll see. Everyone seems to be busy at the minute. It's a funny time of the year, but we're hoping to get people back. It's been a good show. It's been good fun with
Yeah,
Neil
I've
as
enjoyed
always. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to give us a like before you go. We will see. We'll probably won't see you again until Friday now. It's going to be a bit of a quiet week. Unless we throw something unexpected in. I might maybe try and get a Leicester fan on at some point, maybe try and do something with a Leicester fan. I am going on Leicester Fan TV on Thursday for a match preview. So that's going to be fun. I've been with them guys before. Good fun, actually. So that'll be a good laugh. That's on Thursday there. So maybe join me for that. And I'll say I'll definitely be back Friday. But I may throw in something in the meantime if I can come up with an idea to do something or other in the meantime. But if not, we'll see you very soon. Take it easy. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Neil. Thanks for everyone in the chat. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you soon. Come on, you Gunners. Top of the league. Let's do it.
Real Martinelli. It's now with Granit Xhaka. Is it going to be the third goal? It is the third goal. Granit Xhaka with it. That seals it.